Nice. Okay, let's go. Unmarked alley.
I am Coach Cooper and welcome to another never asked for list about the top female protagonists in video games. Let's just cover that word protagonist. The female in question has to be the main character. There can't be a choice. I was considering the female version of V from the Cyberpunk story, which is actually really quite tailored and changed if you choose the female character. So that also means it doesn't include companions. I'm so sorry. Maybe that's another list.
Do something. Right.
This is Transistor in the background. The main female character is called Red. She barely says a damn thing, and this is an indie game. I'm going to focus on AAAs. This is also not a list about how fit they are, anime weebs, even though that is how Mark Zuckerberg started. We're going to keep this highbrow. We're going to keep away from that smut. I waited all day to do that joke, to cut to Bayonetta half naked, producing a dragon out of her hair. We are starting with Bayonetta 1, and it is an incredible backstory about the Umbra Witch, how she fell out with the entire Christian church and took it upon herself to bring it all down.
From the path of the dark arts forever.
Actually, that's not technically a true angle of the story. She is banished and, of course, attacked by celestial heavenly foes. Bayonetta is not the most detailed of dialogued characters on this list, hence the reason she's kind of at the start and this is ranked.
Rise, my child. Rise to realize your true potential.
But one of my main factors of scoring is badassery and whether the female character is kicking some hiney. And Bayonetta is one of the strongest on the list for just delivering damage, doing all these cool martial arts, having guns on her high heels, and just having that plummy English accent. That goes a long way.
What?
Bayonetta's character arc in this game is kind of quite a classic one. She's introduced as this very sassy one-liner, nothing sticks to me, extremely confident and almost cold in persona. And as the game progresses, she starts to befriend this small girl that's with them as a party, going through a lot of the traumatic events that Bayonetta 1 produces. And she starts to warm to the child, and there's all this really cool maternal stuff coming through, and you genuinely do get behind the character development with Bayonetta 1. I know that sounds really crazy, but there is some substance there. There's also another super dark angle with this game that some of you may have not have spotted first time round. A lot of her specials involve actual spiked caskets that were used to imprison witches and women that misbehaved in the Middle Ages. These are devices that she sort of swings back on the angels. Iron Maidens they were called, and the witch trials of that particular time period, horrific stuff. So a lot of serious undertones with some of the cosmetics of Bayonetta. Okay, Control's up next, and we're stepping into the sort of slightly more in-depth written characters that we see in some of the more modern AAA games that we're featuring on the list. Now, she's called Jessie Faden. I had to Google it as well. Control has just appeared on my top sci-fi horror games list. I recommend you go and look at it. I'm not going to dig too deeply into the mechanics of the game or anything that's a major selling point on a gameplay front. This is all really about her, how she's written, how much you find out about her, and her introduction. There's a lot of very well-placed mystery in this game, and loads of it is behind her character or lack of what you know about her backstory. She's basically looking for a brother. He's gone missing, and that leads her to this interdimensional corporate office building, and things just start going very crazy from there on in. But the game really prides itself on giving you small amounts of information at the right times to keep you hooked on how dark and scary the story is. Her minimal input to that only bolsters that idea, and when you go through the game and actually queue up all the cutscenes or all of her dialogue, there's barely any. It's really crazy, but she's perfectly pitched for it. She has this authority. She's obviously a female exec within this structure, and she carries it extremely well. Control's a really good example of cool women kicking ass in video games. Sticking on the minimal input front, Selene Vassos is the name of the main protagonist in Returnal, and her lines could probably fit on an A4 page, but again, it's what you don't know, what you're not shown, and what you're not told that keeps you intrigued. She's landed on a rogue alien planet full of adversaries that want to kill her, and every time she actually dies, she wakes up and discovers she's in this loop. Now, this game is very difficult to talk about on an in-depth level without revealing some of its spoilers. And the character of Selene takes a few different directions the further you get down the game as the story's revealed to you. I remember seeing the footage early from Housemarque and thinking, how damn cool is it that they've got a female running around on this alien planet, and it came to fruition brilliantly, giving her this fragility but also a mass amount of badassery, because you will die about 70 times playing as her, and so you really get to know this character.
Why?
It got me thinking about future space travel, astronauts, and females. Basically, if you aren't familiar with aviation, women have a higher tolerance to G, a lot higher tolerance, mainly because of the blood flow and the mammary glands snigger, but it's pretty amazing that they're probably better at getting those jets around the corners. So if you were looking down the timeline for space travel, the first pioneers may actually be women. Pretty sure there's no G in spacecraft because there isn't an atmosphere, but that point still stands that the future's bright, the future is Returnal. Because it's a very difficult roguelike and you do find yourself restarting from the beginning with everything gone quite a lot, she comes out with this quite encouraging, gotta do better, gotta go faster lines that do kind of keep you going a bit. I can't imagine this game if it was an annoying bloke, to be fair.
Appears safe to repurpose.
Alright, let's talk about Aloy, let's talk about Horizon Forbidden West and Horizon Zero Dawn. Aloy's character didn't see that much of a metamorphosis between the two games, but we did see some more backstory and some more depth given to her as a main character in the newest game. Now, Aloy is by far one of the most recognisable current-gen video game characters, and this is a damn good thing. Her ginger hair and all of her prudishness hasn't stopped her becoming the go-to female protagonist in a lot of AAA games. And even though in the first games she demonstrated some unbelievable badassery, and in this she does come through with being a complete kick-ass, she is extremely boring and very mundane with how rock and roll she is. If you imagine taking Aloy out for a drink, she'd probably have a J2O and go home at about 9:30. Being safe is not a bad thing. Being predictable is okay. It's just not what I'm looking for when it comes to a badass female protagonist. It is a little bit of a shame that Aloy lost some of her rock and roll with the transitions between the two games. I felt she was a little bit more risque and one-linery in that original game, and also Forbidden West has sort of been pushed out to the masses a little bit more middle of the road now with its gameplay style, a lot less open worldy and a bit more handholdy, and I think Aloy's spikiness on a character level was taken out a little bit. But I also haven't mentioned up till now that a character going on a journey or going through any major change is a big scoring factor. And Aloy's travels within Forbidden West and what she discovers, who she befriends and how she changes is quite wealthy on that front. It's just that her as an individual, I'm not drawn to her because she seems so much more calmed down than that previous rendition.
Okay, gotta grab the drone's data.
Okay, 2B from Nier Automata is not a human female. I failed to declare at the start of the video that I was going to include androids. I'm sorry to everyone. But it brings me on to a very slightly amusing point, and it reminds me of, and stay with me here, Star Trek Next Generation. I'm not a huge fan of that particular series, prefer the originals, but I love the way they explore AI and robots, and Data is a very good example. He is a cyborg that lives on the ship and is a member of the crew just like everybody else, and some episodes will include Data having, I don't know, some sort of emotion, some sort of clash, some sort of thing with his emotion chip, which means he can't do something or interact. But if you actually analyse Data's behaviour lines through the whole series. The man shows emotion everywhere. It's ridiculous. He'll even react. He'll even laugh at some scenes, completely written in. It's kind of the same template with 2B. She is painted as this cold steel war android that happens to be constructed as a gorgeous woman. Those heels are not practical on any battlefield, but by the by, my point is she is just human the whole way through the story, and the arc is that she gets in touch with emotions that, you know, only humans have, and there's that whole question about AI and what makes you human. It's a very clever game, and she's at the front of that awesome story the whole time. Takes the badassery crown, I think, maybe from the entire list. She is choreographed so well, her weapons are amazing, the outfits are a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the payoff for getting behind this awesome female character the whole way through this game is a complete joy. It's totally recommended. Oh my god, it's Lara Croft from the Tomb Raider series. Yeah, this is the definitive edition. Running on my 5 actually. It's one of the few games that boasted 4K on the PlayStation 4 Pro, so dig it out if you've upgraded. I remember when Lara Croft was just 2 pointed polygons. Oh my god, has she come on, both in depth as a character, but also in visual fidelity. Back to the posh, British, plummy accent. They've still got it with her. It clashes a bit when you hear it today, but it was part of the character, it was part of canon. It just doesn't seem quite up to speed with all the rest of amazing rework they put into this character. She is Nathan Drake meets Indiana Jones, and hotter than both of them. So that's a plus if you're a gamer. And the stories that they've put these newer games in are pretty damn good. What the major selling point is for this particular game, I feel, are the set pieces as opposed to Lara herself. And the fact that you've got a slightly open world system on some of the maps and areas. It's been years since I played this game, and I was so impressed with it. But I was also impressed with how well written and choreographed Lara is, with being a massive badass, knowing how to use a gun, bow and arrow survival skills, kicking the arse out of so many men, you lose count. Her relationship with her father is quite well explored in this newer game, and you get this VR mode as well where you get to walk around the mansion. I love the fact that it's moved really far back from the Angelina Jolie side of the story and all of the film work. This is a real return to roots, both with the character and with the game. But it's Lara's guerrilla-like warfare, creeping around, taking on foes much larger or groups bigger than herself and just coming through. Now there is one thing, there's me going on about, you know, women in great video games, and there's death scenes in this that are really graphic. I don't mind seeing a guy getting mangled up, but women and kids, I don't like it. So I'm a bit of a traditionalist on that front. I only apologise. You'll see what I mean. What the hell? Yeah, I'm going back to 2017. I reviewed this on the channel, Top PSN Games 2017. And I was thinking, I need some footage. I know I've got it on, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it on my channel. Don't search for this under Going Home. You won't find it. It's embedded, hidden at the bottom of this list. It's a walk-in story simulator, but it's by far one of the best written female characters I've ever had the pleasure to play. I think you're like a student or it's someone in your late 20s coming back from like a trip to Europe. They might have even been at uni or something, and you come back to this empty house. It's not an apocalypse situation. Your parents are just away, and they leave all these notes around. Anyway, this girl's got this sort of angle with the relationship that she's in that clashes with some of the parents' values, and it leads on to this brilliant, heartwarming, tragic, and rollercoaster-like story that even leans on the supernatural in areas. It's so epic. I'm not going to ruin any more of it. Just going to recommend it to you guys. It's a must play if you want to hear some really cool, up-to-date, up-to-speed, modern female writing of a very rich character going through some, and still quite relevant 5 years later, issues.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Like, really seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so Love you. See you soon. Bye.
What happened here?
Tell me about it. Amanda Ripley from Alien Isolation is not number one on the list. We have one more game to come, but this is an incredible piece of work. The daunting task of writing Ellen Ripley's daughter's character out to be not a disappointment must have been one scary brief. As mentioned before, and I will try and put some links in, I view Alien Isolation as a solid piece of Alien canon media, and the facial animations and the NPCs and depth of character put into just about everybody you interact with is really good, and it feels like another chunk from that franchise. And the fact that Amanda Ripley is on this sort of hell-bent mission to find out what happened to her mum, the whole Ripley family having this dogged hatred for the Alien and Yutani Weyland Corporation is brilliantly weaved into her character and her introduction as well.
Stay still.
As the name suggests, she's also in this whole thing kind of on her own, and being extremely resourceful, having to avoid that alien, crafting, and dealing with any number of sort of astrological problems, as well as this massive alien coming after her. From what we're shown of the character, these stresses are really obvious and well put into her, both decision-making process, how she interacts with others, and how she's on this determined angle to get to the facts about her mother's death, which really drives you as a player through the entire game, because you yourself want to get to the end of this horrendous journey.
Something's on this station. Something you wouldn't believe.
Like what?
A killer. You get it?
Okay.
I just ran in there, grabbed his gun, and shot the guy in the face.
How old were you?
14. How old were you when you first killed someone?
We talking infected?
No. Fully conscious, non-fungal person.
10?
Wow. What happened?
Guy was coming at my mom. I stabbed him.
Shit.
So my current favourite female protagonist at the moment is Ellie from The Last of Us Part 2. And you guys know why. This is amazing growth. It dovetails in with the first game, how she's become this complete, resourceful, terrifying badass. She's also clearly dealing with a huge amount of loss. Now, this is so well put into just about all of her mannerisms. The way she holds herself, the dialogue, her sort of downtrodden attitude the whole way through most of this second game is really a thing to watch. And her interactions with everybody else, her exploring relationships with the other characters within game is pretty incredible. You see a lot of her behaviour carry through from the first game being taught to her by Joel, and it's so cool to see that come into fruition as she's surviving in that nightmare world out there. She's obviously also got a massive axe to grind with the story arc, and she's dealing with a lot of complicated relationships both on and off camp. So much turmoil within this woman's life, and it's all shown brilliantly through different stages in the game and different conversations or relationships that she has. And this also boils down to little things like in combat, what she'll say afterwards, how she's fatigued a lot of the time and just stressed with just about everything she has to do.
Ellie? Yeah?
Do you know what you're doing?
I think so.
She's also quite action Ellie focused, not afraid to go abseiling or fire a double-barreled shotgun at a marauding zombie, and when she tackles the task she kind of does it wholeheartedly. You hear a lot of really cool noises and pains and sounds as she struggles through the various missions.
Ellie? I'm good. Just almost died.
The weapon handling animations are just brilliant. The fact that she knows her way around these firearms in so much detail is a perfect example of how extreme some of these scenarios have got within this apocalyptic world. And also her look and her attire. She is the complete polar opposite to Bayonetta, right? It's crazy how that girl next door look is kind of the norm for a lot of female characters in video games, and that's a really good thing. The scope, the broad angle of all these different directions for female protagonists is very welcome. You have unwittingly made it to the end of this video, so congratulations, well done. If you're asleep, you still got me that view, I appreciate it. And the watch time's up. I have been Couch Coop. I will see you down there.